Hi everyone, I'm Jean-Michel Grosjeu and here we are watching the 10th and final video in my series about Space Empires, a game by Jim Crone, published by GMT Games. And let's be honest, the best space 4X game on the market as of today. And since, of course, if you are watching this, you've already seen the previous 9 videos, I'll spare you all the preliminary chatter and get right down to business. Today, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of special, optional and somewhat exotic rules that are left in the rulebook and that I haven't told you about yet. Let's call them more than Chrome, rules tailored to the geeks we are. Next, I'll introduce you to Space Empire's gigantic array of scenarios and all the tools the game gives to customize your space adventures. And you'll understand that you're not about to exhaust the huge potential of this game. There's a lot to see. This video isn't going to be the shortest in the series, so let's get started. And I need first to talk about advanced constructions. This is an optional rule, you don't have to use it. Advanced constructions is a technology which, like all other technology, must be purchased with RPs. And first, note that there is a prerequisite for purchasing this technology. You must have already built at least one ship size 4 unit, so a battlecruiser BC, a battleship BB, a dreadnought DN, or a Titan. And only then can you invest in advanced construction. Each level costs 10 RPs. With level 1, you unlock DDX ships. You remember destroyers, DD, ship size 2. Well, now with advanced construction level 1, you can build DDX instead, advanced destroyers. There is no special counter for this ship. You still use a DD counter, but on the technology sheet, you circle the DD letters to indicate that it is a group of DDX and not just DDs. In this example, the DD2 counter represents a group of destroyers, while the DD3 group represents advanced DDX destroyers. And the difference is just this little circle around the letters DD. And beware, you cannot upgrade an old DD into a new DDX. Destroyers built after acquiring the advanced construction technology are DDX, while those built before are DDs and will remain so. The only way to do otherwise is to scuttle the DD2 group, for example, and rebuild it as DDX in a shipyard. But don't rush into such extreme actions because when it comes to construction, a DD and a DDX are finally quite the same. The difference is about the ship's potential improvement. A DDX can benefit from attack and defense technologies at level 2, whereas normally with a hull size of 1, it should not be able to exceed 1. On the sheet, these technologies are marked with an X to show that they are only available in the DDX version. The DDX also has access to level 2 fast technology. We already know fast technology, which allows one additional move on the first turn of the cycle. Fast technology level 1 gives this bonus to battle cruisers, BC or flagships. At level 2, it also applies to DDX, BV and RX. You already know DDX, we'll look at the other two right after this. And finally, DDX are automatically equipped with heavy warheads. And that means that they always hit on a roll of 1 or 2. Regardless of the unit's strength and all their attacks and defense technologies, when a DDX fires, if it rolls a 1 or a 2, it's a hit. And that's a 1 in 5 chance. Against Titans, which you normally never automatically hit, well now you do, the DDX heavy warheads automatically hit Titans on a roll of 1. With advanced construction technology, you can build advanced units, which are improved versions of existing units. The DDX is the advanced version of the DD Destroyer. With level 1 advanced construction, you can also build advanced bases. But here, it's not all like with the DDX, because okay, with this technology all new bases are built as advanced bases, but also all the bases that are already in play immediately become advanced bases. The player cannot have both standard bases and advanced bases on the board at the same time. And while the role of a standard base is to defend planets and colonies, the advanced base can also act as a defense beacon, much like a border post on the edge of the empire. In game terms, while a base is always built on a colony, an advanced base can be built at the end of a pipeline path connected back to a colony. Here, yellow player can build his advanced base way out there in deep space. The advanced base floats in space, it still cannot move, but it will stop and attack anyone who tries to fly through its hexagon. Okay, put like that, it doesn't sound that extraordinary. Advanced base attacks units that fly through it. What a big deal. You just have to make a little detour, right? Well, it's not that simple. First, because an outpost can benefit from scanner technology. With advanced construction level 1, the scanner can also be equipped on advanced bases. If the player gets level 1 or 2 scanners, his advanced bases will automatically detect cloaked units. And even better, advanced bases can benefit from level 2 exploration technology, which allows for reaction moves. Let's see what it is. Reaction movement is an ability that appears with exploration technology at level 2. It can be equipped on cruisers CA, advanced carriers BV, which we'll see shortly, flagships and shipyards SY and advanced bases. So, if you use your RPs to purchase exploration level 2, you will immediately be able to make reaction moves with your cruisers, flagships and shipyards. But to do it with your bases, you will also need advanced construction level 1 and level 2 for advanced carriers. A unit equipped with level 2 exploration is able to scan adjacent hexagons to trigger a reaction movement from the ships stacked with it. Let's break it down step by step. All this takes place during the enemy's turn, more precisely at the end of their movement when combat begins. A unit with reaction movement technology is a kind of watchdog scanning adjacent hexagons, ready to send reinforcement as soon as combat breaks out. But of course, this also requires a reacting force, that is, some ships the watchdog will send into battle. These must be ships with enough move technology to be able to react quickly. And we know this thanks to the letter R on the technology sheet. Look here, a DD ship can react if it has move technology at level 3, because on its line, the 3 is replaced by an R for reaction. So, the ship or ships that are going to react must be in the same hexagon as the watchdog and must have the move technology at the level marked with an R. And these units do not need the level 2 exploration technology themselves. That is just for the watchdog. In our example, a blue fleet attacks a yellow unit right next to the watchdog, a base equipped with level 2 exploration technology. So that base detects the combat, but that's not enough. It also needs a reaction force ready to go. And then, immediately, even though it's not their turn, the reaction units are moved to the adjacent hexagon and they are added to the combat as defenders. The enemy remains the attacker. Note that there is no reaction movement possible if there is an enemy unit in the starting hexagon, and a reaction move is not possible through a warp. And there you go. Now you understand why the use of a base as a forward beacon is so closely linked to this reaction move technology, And if you want it to be a real barrier in front of your colonies, you must surround it with small units such as scouts, whose purpose is to stop enemy fleets that will be forced to declare combat and trigger the intervention of a larger fleet stacked in the base hexagon and ready to intervene with a reaction move. Okay, that was for the advanced base, but look, it's not over. Level 1 advanced construction technology also unlocks the development of new technologies for battleship, BB, dreadnoughts, DN and Titans, and also starbases, which are not on the list for some reason I don't know. Fine, but what technologies are we talking about? For battleships, BB, Advanced Construction Level 1 unlocks a new weapon, tractor beams. Look, it's written here, just below on the research table. So, if you have Advanced Construction Level 1, you can spend another 10 RPs, and from there you can equip your BB ships with tractor beams. In combat, at the beginning of each round, a ship with a tractor beam can designate a target, and that target will not be able to retreat that round. It is held back by the tractor beam. And even if that targeted ship is in screening, the funny thing being that the BB ship can retreat normally, however, as soon as it leaves the hexagon, the tractor beam's effects are cancelled. Okay, and for the dreadnoughts, the Advanced Construction Level 1 unlocks a whole new technology, shield projectors, one more line down in the research table. This time it happens at the very beginning of a battle. The dreadnought, equipped with the shield projector, designates a friendly ship that it will protect with its shield. Note that it can protect any ship except for a Titan that's too big. Then, during combat, the enemy cannot attack the protected unit until the dreadnought itself is destroyed. Imagine how powerful that is. It's much better than screening because the protected ship can still attack. And if, for example, the dreadnought decides to protect a fighter, it also protects the carrier, which cannot be destroyed as long as there are fighters in the hexagon. And since this happens at the very beginning of the battle, the shield even works against mines. Several dreadnoughts can protect the same ship, in which case all the protecting dreadnoughts must be destroyed before the protected ship can be attacked. Please note that roles are determined at the very beginning of combat and cannot be changed afterwards. Finally, for Titans and starbases, the Level 1 Advanced Construction Technology unlocks Level 4 Attack Technology. Not much to say here. Normally, Attack Technology caps at Level 3, but here, with Level 1 Advanced Construction, for 10 RPs you can upgrade to Level 4, but only for Titans and starbases, which will then have an amazing +4 attack bonus. Okay, all that was the level 1 of Advanced Construction Technology. Let's see now what level 2 will bring. We were just talking about starbases. Well, they can only be built once you reach Advanced Construction level 2. Note that you never build a starbase directly. First, you build a base, and then for 12 CPs, you transform the base into a starbase. It's a two-step process. And you cannot do both steps at once. During an economic phase, you build a base, and in the next economic phase, 3 turns later, for 12 CPs, you upgrade the base into a starbase. The starbase is a kind of super base. It has more hit points, more defense, and look, it attacks twice. But be careful, there's a catch. Remember the Titan, it has exactly the same 7x2 symbol, which means it attacks only once, but when it hits, it deals 2 damage. Well, for the starbase, forget that. Here, 7x2 means that it attacks twice, it rolls 2 dice, and each die that hits inflicts 1 damage. The same inscription 7 times 2 does not mean the same thing in both cases. It's a little awkward, but that's how it is, so let's try to remember it. The starbase is first and foremost a base. It doesn't move, and it counts as the only base that can be on a planet. However, since the starbase is a huge structure, think of it as the Titan of bases, it can only be built on a fully developed colony, that is, a colony with a production level of 5. And it follows that it cannot be built in space, where there is no planet. You can still do that with advanced bases, but not with starbases. As a base, a starbase automatically benefits from all the technologies you develop, and as we saw just before, level 4 attack technology, and level 2 exploration to send units to an adjacent combat with a reaction movement. And finally, an attacker never benefits from the -1 fleet size bonus against a starbase. But of course, the starbase itself can benefit from the fleet bonus if it is on the side with the most units. And that's not over, because the starbase is a base, but it's also a shipyard. This means that it can build new units, and it is added to any other shipyards that may be on its colony. And note that upgrading a base to a starbase counts as building a shipyard, so you cannot build another shipyard on the same colony in the same turn. Advanced Construction Level 2 also unlocks the production of Advanced Carriers, BV ships, and they are just super CVs. First, you can see on their counter that a BV is much better than a CV. Class B instead of E, 3 hit points instead of 1, attack 5, defense 1. While the CV was just a fighter carrier, the BV, in addition to that, is a true warship which can attack and defend by itself. But more than that, it can transport and support 6 fighters instead of 3, so in a way, it fights as 2 CVs. And it keeps all the abilities of a CV. It cannot be attacked as long as there is a fighter in its hexagon, except by a mine, remember, that's the weak point of carriers. But here, no. The advanced carrier, the BV, is equipped with an anti-sensor hull that does not trigger mines. In other words, a mine can never attack a BV, so it is even possible that an advanced BV carrier is in the same hexagon as enemy mines, and they remain there together without fighting. Be careful, the fighters they carry are not immune to mines, so as long as the fighters remain on board, nothing happens. But these fighters cannot leave the carrier. They cannot attack other ships in the hexagon, at the risk of being attacked by mines. Finally, the BV can be equipped with level 2 fast technology, which makes it faster, and level 2 exploration technology to conduct reaction moves as a watchdog, like the starbase we just saw, but better because the BV is mobile. In addition, with Advanced Construction Level 2, you can build level 4 fighters. Remember, some videos ago, I introduced the 4 levels of fighter development. Level 4 fighters are Class B with an attack of 8 and a defense of 2. This means that each individual fighter has an attack power close to the best ships in the fleet. But here's the thing, this level of fighter technology is only possible with Advanced Construction Level 2. And I let you imagine the power of a BV ship loaded with 6 level 4 fighters. Next, with Advanced Construction Level 2, you can build Advanced Miners, Miners X. There are 4 Miner X counters numbered 5, 6, 7 and 8, and that doubles the number of available miners. But in addition to that, a Miner X can use the Move technology, and this makes it a fast and much more efficient miner ship. Please note that Miners and Miner X are different units. You cannot upgrade a miner into a Miner X. And finally, there is Cyber Armor. This is an improved version of the Grav Armor unit we already know. So in order to build a cyber armor, you must first know how to build a grav armor, and therefore you must have ground combat technology at level 3. The cyber armor is a separate unit, so you cannot upgrade a grav armor into a cyber armor. In ground combat, a cyber armor counts as 3 armored units when calculating support for other units. Remember, the player with the most armored units can give a +1 attack and +1 defense bonus to a number of units which depends on his superiority in armored units. Fine, that was level 2, but we are not done yet. Let's move on to Advanced Construction level 3. First, with level 3, you can build Advanced Raiders, RX. And this looks like the DDX we saw with level 1, and we'll draw a parallel because it works the same way. There are no RX counters in the game. When you build an RX, you take an R ship counter and circle its letter R on the ship's technology sheet to show that it is an RX. At that point, as you see with the letter X, the ship can benefit from level 3 attack and level 3 defense technologies, even though its hull size is 2. In addition, the RX ship can transport 1 ground unit, like a transport ship, but with only 1 slot. Please note, only 1 ground unit, not a logistic group nor a fighter as transport ship can do. And the Advanced Raider, RX, can even benefit from level 3 ground combat technology, which gives the drop ability. Remember, after such a drop onto a planet, a ground unit can fight as soon as the first round of combat. You can watch my video number 9 again if you need a refresher. You cannot upgrade the standard Raider R ship to an RX. You have to build it as an RX from the start, and if you remember that the main strength of a Raider ship is to be stealthy, you can understand now that it can carry a ground unit, the new threat it becomes. An RX ship can pass through enemy defenses, invisible, and drop its unit on the ground of a poorly defended colony. Next, the SCX, the Advanced Scout. The table even says SC number 7 because it actually corresponds to a single counter, the SCX7 counter. With Advanced Construction level 3, you can build your own SCX7 ship, a group of ships in fact, because this counter can represent up to 6 ships as usual. And this X-Scout ship has the ability to move as if its move technology level were 3 points higher. This means that if the entire fleet is level 4, for example, and moves 6 hexagons during a 3-turn cycle, well, the SCX-7 moves as if it had a level of 7, 4 plus 3, and moves 9 hexagons. However, if the overall move technology level increases further, the SCX-7 cannot go faster than speed 7. 7 is the maximum. The SCX-7 is therefore just a scout that can move very fast. And finally, the Advanced Flagship. Each player has a special Advanced Flagship counter. It is the same as the normal flagship, but with the letter A. And since a player can only have 1 flagship anyway, what he can do with level 3 Advanced Construct technology is to bring his flagship back to a shipyard and upgrade it to an advanced flagship. This operation costs 3 CPs. Then the advanced flagship is stronger in combat, class A, attack 5, defense 3, but more than that, when it is upgraded, the player can choose one special ability for it. There are 13 abilities to choose from, which are summarized in this table from the game rules. The player notes only one ability on the ship's technology sheet, he cannot change his mind later. Of course, we will take a detailed look at these 13 special abilities, but not right away. First, let's conclude the advanced construction topic by pointing out how eclectic they are. So I think it is useful to try to summarize everything in a single diagram that will help us keep things clear. First, you must have built at least one ship size 4 ship, and then you can purchase the 3 levels of advanced construction technology with your RPs. At level 1, you can build DDX, but there are no DDX counters. You use DD counters, but you circle the ship name on your sheet to recognize it. And I draw a red bar to show that you don't upgrade DDs into DDX. There is a clear separation between the two models. The DDs you have remain DDs, and the new ones you build are DDX. And the two models can perfectly coexist in your war fleet. You can also transform bases into advanced bases. Here too there are no advanced bases counters, but the difference is that all bases automatically become advanced bases. So there is never any coexistence of normal bases and advanced bases on the board. And finally, Advanced Construction Level 1 unlocks 3 other technologies. It doesn't give you these technologies, you still have to pay for them with RPs. And once these technologies are acquired, the corresponding ships will have to go back to the shipyard to be upgraded. Each technology is only useful for 1 or 2 types of ships. At level 2, we have a new special case. We can transform bases, actually advanced bases, because since level 1 all bases are advanced bases, into star bases. Each conversion costs 12 CPs. Next, you can build BVs, advanced carriers, but you keep the old CVs. You cannot upgrade a CV into a BV, which is what my red bar means. The same goes for miners and miners X. You can build either one, but you cannot upgrade miners into miners X. And finally, the same goes from Grav Armor and Cyber Armor. One is not an upgrade of the other, and both models can coexist. Finally, with Advanced Construction Level 2, you can get Fighter Technology Level 4, but this must be developed separately by paying for it with RPs. With this technology, you can build level 4 fighters or upgrade existing fighters to level 4. And finally, with Advanced Construction Level 3, a player can upgrade his flagship into an advanced flagship, but to do so, the ship must go back to a shipyard and pay 3 CPs. The player can also build Advanced Raiders, Raiders X, and with the same situation as with DD Destroyers. There is no RX counter, you just circle the ship's name on the sheet to recognize it as advanced. However, the old R Raiders remain R and cannot be upgraded to RX. The two types will coexist on the board. Finally, players can build their SCX-7 Advanced Scout, but this does not change anything for existing scouts, which remain SCs and cannot be upgraded. And that's it. That's the whole picture. It's a bit complicated, which is why I recommend keeping my diagram handy so you don't get lost during a real game. Okay, now let's go back to the 13 special abilities. Remember, with Advanced Construction Level 3, your flagship can become an advanced flagship, and at this point you can choose one of the 13 special abilities for it. But that's not the reason why this list was created. So before we finish with advanced flagship, let's talk a little about unique ships. Unique ships have nothing to do with advanced construction technology, and it's an optional rule. You can use it or not, but personally I recommend it because it's fun. At the very beginning of the game, each player takes some time to design his own unique ship. This is something you do every time you set up the game. In fact, despite what its name might suggest, this unique ship is not a ship that exists in only one copy. That would be the flagship. No, the unique ship is a unique model that only that player can build. Each player has 6 unit ship counters, so for his own unique ship, the one he designed before the beginning of the game, he can build a maximum of 6 times 6 equals 36 copies. At the beginning of the game, players define what these ships are, but they are not able to build them yet. There is a line on the ship technology sheet for writing the definition of your unique ship, and just below that there are 6 lines for the 6 counters, the 6 groups of unique ships that you can build. Okay, so first, you give your model a name, let's say to be poetic, the Exterminator. Next, you need to write its characteristics, its class, attack, defense, and hull size. These values don't come from nowhere. You choose them from this table found in the game rules. And each time, you find the corresponding cost, a CP cost, which is the cost you will have to pay each time you want to build such a ship. For example, my Exterminator model will have a class of C, an attack of 3, a defense of 1, and a hull size of 2. That makes a total cost of 11 CPs. Now, I can add special abilities to it, and here is our table of 13 special abilities. So let me zoom a little. Here is an ability we saw earlier, the Tractor Beam. With this weapon, you target an enemy ship to prevent it from retreating, and we can see that it costs 2 CPs. So all I have to do is write a Tractor Beam and increase the cost of my unique ship by 2, and voila, my Exterminator model can target enemies to prevent them from retreating. Now let's give it a second ability, the Anti-Sensor Hull, that we also saw earlier. It simply makes my unique ships immune to mines, and for only 3 CPs. And there you go, 2 special abilities is the maximum you can add to the design of a unique ship. My Exterminator model costs 16 CPs per ship. That's the price of a battle cruiser, okay, why not? And finally, a last table tells me, based on the CP cost of my ship, the level of ship size technology that will be required to build it. Here, with a cost of 16 CPs, we are here on the chart. That makes for a ship size of 5. It's a shame because 1 point less and a ship size of 4 would have been enough. I could possibly go back over my choices to try to gain 1 point somewhere. Anyway, I note down the ship size where I can, and that's it. Each player does the same thing before the beginning of the game. It's a secret. And during the game, when they have reached the right level of ship size technology, 5 in the case of my Exterminator, players can build these ships just by paying the CP cost. Here it's 16 CPs for 1 Exterminator. And we can see on the sheet that in addition to this, my unique ships can benefit from attack, defense, tactics, and move technologies. Of course, with its hull size of 2, it cannot exceed level 2 in attack and defense. Now that you have your own unique ship, you still must check if its class matches its ambition. If you design a large ship with lots of equipment, you must ensure a minimum class. The rule is given by this table. So, if you get a ship that costs 20 CPs but has a D class, that's not good, you must upgrade its class. But doing so, that will increase its price, and you may need to tinker a bit until you come up with a design that complies with the rule. Voila, now we can go back to our list of 13 special abilities. From this list, you can choose a maximum of 2 abilities for your unique ships, but it's also from the same list that you'll choose 1 special ability for your advanced flagship. Now, I'm going to go through the 13 abilities, starting at the end, heavy warheads. We've already talked about these because they always equip DDX advanced destroyers. A ship attacking with these warheads automatically hits on a roll of 1 or 2 regardless of modifiers. And it automatically hits a Titan on a roll of 1. So it's a great weapon for attacking very tough and well-defended targets. Next ability, second salvo. With it, a ship can attack twice as long as the first hit is successful and the second targets the same type of ship. This does not work with bombardments. Next, warp gates. With this technology, two ships can act as warp portals. But to do so, they must be stationary, they must spend one turn without moving, they must not be too far apart, maximum 3 hexagons, and then, for all that player's other ships, these 2 hexagons are considered adjacent. And this warp gate can also be used by ground units. By placing 2 ships with the warp gate's ability on 2 planets no more than 3 hexagons apart, the player can teleport his ground units and even a colony. Please note that a unit can move through a warp gate once per turn. You cannot jump to the other side of the galaxy by chaining warps. Tractor beam, we know it. This is the advanced technology available for battleships, BB. It prevents enemy ships from retreating. Construction bay. A ship equipped with this bay counts as a shipyard if it is on a colony for building or upgrading ships. So, with such a construction bay, you cannot build ships anywhere because you have to be stacked with an existing colony, but it reinforces your construction or upgrade capabilities where necessary. And then there's the design weakness. It's fun, it's a flaw that you can add to your ship, and it counts as one of the only 2 special abilities allowed. But it lowers the cost of the ship by 1 or 2 CPs, and thanks to that, perhaps you can fit to a lower ship size category, as we saw earlier with our Exterminator, which for only 1 point required a ship size of 5 instead of 4. When a ship has such a design weakness, it doesn't really know what it is, and the actual weakness is only revealed the first time one of these unique ships fights in combat. At that point, the player rolls 1 die at the start of combat, and this determines a type of enemy ship that will benefit from a +2 attack against your unique ships. The cost gain is -1 for a ship worth 16 CPs or less, and -2 for a ship worth more than 16. We already know about the shield projector because it can equip Dreadnought's DN with advanced construction technology. With this shield projector, you target a friendly ship that cannot be attacked until the owner of the shield projector is eliminated. The anti-sensor hull, we know it because it can be equipped on BVs, advanced carriers. It simply makes your unique ship immune to mine attacks. And finally, the mini fighter bay, which allows a ship to carry and support 1 fighter. This makes it a kind of mini carrier, but a very light one. A unique ship with its mini fighter bay can still be attacked even with a fighter in the hexagon. It is not protected by the fighter as a carrier would be. And the last 4 special abilities are in fact well-known technologies: point defense, scanner, exploration, and fast. Choosing one of these abilities for your unique ship or your advanced flagship does not give it any additional power except for being able to benefit from this technology when it is developed. For example, if I choose the scanners technology for my unique ship, that means that if I develop the scanner technology, my unique ships will be able to get scanners. Either they will be built with them directly or they will have to go back to a shipyard to upgrade. And that's why the table specifies that the technology must be researched normally. The special ability is just a right to be equipped with the technology on the day it is developed. Voila, now you know everything there is to know about the special abilities that can equip advanced flagship and unique ships. And for unique ships, all this must be planned in advance at the beginning of the game, when the ship's abilities are defined once and for all. And in fact, that's not totally true, because according to the rules, you can change the design of your unique ships during the game. It costs 5 CPs during any economic phase, and for that price, you can erase your design and start it all over again, as if you were at the beginning of the game. 5 CPs, you might say, that's not very expensive, but be careful, there is a hidden cost. All your unique ships must have the same design. So if you already have unique ships in play and you decide to change the design for 5 CPs, you must scuttle all your existing unique ships. So now you get the idea, this change is actually possible as long as you haven't produced too many unique ships yet. However, once you've produced a dozen or so unique ships, you won't be able to change anymore because it would cost you too much. Phew, now let's take a moment to breathe with a very minor rule. Each player owns 3 fleet counters and a small board with 3 boxes matching them. For yellow player, for example, these are the Gnosis, Logos and Praxis fleets, all 3 coming with its counter. And so it's very simple. The fleet counter on the map represents all the ships in its box on the small board. It's just an accessory to avoid too large clunky piles. The fleet mat is not secret, it is placed on the table next to the player. And now it's time to talk about the scenarios, because there are dozens of different ways to play Space Empires, and perhaps hundreds. So it's high time we take a look. Depending on whether there are 2, 3 or 4 players, you choose a scenario from the competitive scenario book. There is also a book for cooperative and solo scenarios, but I won't talk about them in my videos. You can check them out by yourself if you're interested. So, the most important thing is the scenario diagram of its starting positions. For each player, this diagram shows the location of his own system's 25 tokens, and the letter H shows the possible locations for the home planet. These 25 system tokens are the same for all players, but be careful, the latest expansion All Good Things adds 8 counters for each player. 2 10 CPs minerals, 2 planets, 1 supernova, 1 folding space, 1 space wreck and 1 space pirate. Players are therefore free to configure their game by choosing the 25 tokens they will use from the 33 available. It is strongly recommended that players choose the same set. This is for balance reasons, but even that, finally, is up to them to decide. Then, in the deep space hexagons between players, you put white-backed counters. In this scenario, for example, players need 46 deep space counters, but it can vary from scenario to scenario. Here too, players agree in advance about the counters they choose before distributing them randomly. Okay, we already knew all that. And now to spice things up, we are going to add something new: Empire advantages. Until now, Space Empires has been a perfectly symmetrical game. However, if you wish, because it's optional, you can give each player his own power that will set him apart from the others. Before the game begins, each player draws 2 Empire Advantage cards. They choose one and discard the other. The card they keep represents their faction, the empire they play, and that empire's special power. Here, for example, I choose the robot faction, and my power is that throughout the game, all my maintenance costs will be halved. That's no small thing, and as you'll see, Empire advantages are real advantages that really change things. It should also be noted that each Empire card shows when it should be revealed. For the robots, it's at the very end of the game. This means that throughout the game, this player will halve all his maintenance costs without ever telling anyone. With the other card, he would have been the leader of a civilization of immortals, and then, in each combat round, he would got 1 damage less, and he would have had to show his Empire card from the first combat in which he used this power. Also note, as we saw in video number 9, that a player must reveal his Empire Advantage card if one of his colonies is captured. Also at the beginning of the game, players receive resource cards. This is another optional rule that adds a little chaos and drama to an already exciting game, but that's what we are looking for, isn't it? So, before starting to play, the deck of 80 resource cards is divided equally among the players. If it doesn't divide evenly with 3 players, for example, the extra cards are removed from play. So, with 4 players, each player starts with their own deck of 20 cards and draws 3. This is their starting hand, 3 cards. Then, players can play these cards at the indicated time. For example, I own the card Spy on Board. I can play it at the beginning of my turn or at the beginning of an economic phase. Its effect is to reveal, to flip, all enemy units or aliens in an hexagon of my choice. And all resource cards are like that. They give you a little boost that can become a big advantage depending on when and how you use it. Once played, the resource cards are discarded and never come back into play. Any discarded card is lost. At the beginning of each economic phase, each player draws 1 new card from his personal deck. But be careful, he cannot keep more than 6 cards in his hand. If he draws a 7th card, he must discard 1, and as we've just seen, a discarded card is lost forever. Therefore, players have the option of not drawing a card if they are okay with the 6 they have in their hand and do not want to be forced to discard. This other card, for example, Collateral Damage, can be played during combat. When a unit is destroyed, its destruction reduces by 1 step the development level of a colony in the same hexagon. We see also that each card has a value. Instead of being played for the text on the card, it can be exchanged for that number of CP. The Collateral Damage card is worth 2 CP. Note that when it is played for its value, it must be at the beginning of an economic phase, and the card is discarded, of course. In this last example, the Concealed Minefield card has 3 possible effects. The first is the text on the card. You can make 1 mine attack before the minesweepers can take action. Then there is the bold text at the bottom of the card, which says that instead of doing this, the card can be played when an opponent plays a resource card to cancel its effect. There are 4 cards with this cancel option in the 80 cards deck. And finally, the third use is for its value at the start of an economic phase, but it has 2 different values. In this case, we always use the higher value. Here it's 4. The lower value is for games with the replicators. Finally, some cards are a little more sophisticated. They are labeled mission, and that is exactly what they are. A small mission to complete in order to earn a reward. Here you must send 2 different ships into a deep space nebula and investigate some stellar anomaly. Sometimes, as it is the case here, the reward comes in the form of a roll on the mission table. Here it is. And I strongly advise you to always keep the card manifest handy. This is a booklet where each card is detailed more precisely to answer any question you may have. Now we move on to the last type of cards in the game, crew cards. Their use is optional. And I'm sure that you were wondering what the little asterisk on each even turn of your production sheet means. Well, here it is. It's to remind you that during the economic phase of each even turn, each player draws 2 crew cards, keeps 1 and discards the other. And the one he keeps must be played immediately. There is no crew card hand. If the player doesn't want to play it, it is discarded. A crew card represents some exceptional crew members with special skills. It is attached to a group, so to a counter, a set of 1 to 6 ships. You can write it on your ship technology sheet, you can write the card number, for example, which is written in the bottom right corner, or you can write it separately in a small notebook, for example here, crew number 222, and its maintenance officer are attached to the DN3 Dreadnought group. Please note that this group must be in play, of course, but it must also be in the player's own system, the area where he placed his colored system counters at the beginning of the game, and not necessarily on a colony. Also, the group may have just been built by a shipyard, in which case it can receive the crew even if it is not in the player's system. And then, as long as this group exists, the crew card will remain attached to it. Even if ships from the group are eliminated and others are added, if the group splits in two, for example, the crew card remains with its original group. It does not split itself. And, you guessed it, the crew card's effect apply to that group. Here, the ships in the DN3 group will pay one less maintenance point. And so you should add as many dreadnoughts as you can in this DN3 group to get the most advantage out of it. You can attach 2 crew cards to the same group, but that's the maximum, and a player cannot have more than 5 crew cards in play. At the end of any battle, if at least one ship in the group has been eliminated, the player must roll a die to determine whether the crew has been hit. On a roll of 9 or 10, the crew does not survive and the card is discarded. If the entire group is eliminated during combat, so if its counter is discarded, add +3 to this die roll and another +3 if the entire fleet has been eliminated, all ships in the hexagon, for a total of +3 + 3 equals +6. And so with a little luck, the crew can survive even though their group has been eliminated. Let's say they escaped at the last minute in some escape pods. In this case, the crew card is kept aside and can be played again in the next economic phase. I let you discover all the other crew cards. There are 41 different ones out of a total of 73 cards. At this point, we've pretty much covered all the rules, including the optional ones. But as you can see from the video timeline at the bottom of your screen, we are not quite done yet. First, let's review the scenarios you can play. You'll find them in the competitive scenario book, and for the co-op and solo scenarios, I let you explore it for yourself. Okay, usually, in the standard competitive game, a player wins and the scenario ends as soon as he eliminates an opponent's home planet. This can be done by bombardment or by ground attack. He also wins if he captures it, and when one player wins, all the others lose. If you want a shorter game, the winner is the first player to earn 3 victory points. Players earn 1 point if they destroy or capture one colony belonging to another player, any colony. They also earn 1 point for establishing a fully developed colony, a 5 CP colony, in deep space. Note that the first type of point is earned and cannot be lost. The second type can be lost if the player's colony is destroyed or conquered by someone else. As soon as a player has 3 points, the game ends immediately and he wins. The others have all lost. If, on the other hand, you want a long game, I mean even longer than the standard game, you play until there is only one player left, and all the others have lost their home planet. Note that in this configuration, any player who eliminates or captures another player's home planet immediately earns 30 CPs and +1 level in 2 technologies from the eliminated empire. Finally, the goal of the Sinister game, Sinister means left, is to defeat your neighbor on the left by eliminating his home planet. This is an interesting variation because it avoids 2 or 3 against 1 alliances. Everyone must attack his left neighbor while defending from his right neighbor. Once you have chosen your scenario and the type of victory conditions, You can spice up the game even more by drawing scenario cards. These cards are highly optional and are recommended for players who are already familiar with the game and want to try something new. If you want to use these cards, you draw 2 at the beginning of the game, regardless of the number of players. Then you simply apply what is written on both of them. Here, for example, with Bloody Combat, all units have +1 attack, and with Weak Aliens, there is 1 less ship on each alien planet. These are the kinds of variations these cards offer. And I cannot resist showing you this one, which completely changes the spirit of the game by halving the cost of all temporal abilities. This card lowers the price of the End of an Empire temporal capacity to 175 points, and it transforms the game into a temporal arms race mixed with a hunt for temporal centers. Voila! And if you still haven't had enough, you can add to the deep space counters the Galactic Capitol. Either place it randomly or place it in a predetermined location known to all players. Some scenarios offer these options, it's up to you. And then it's quite simple. Combat is prohibited on the Capitol hexagon. This means that enemy units can coexist on its hexagon, and of course it is not possible to attack or colonize the Capitol itself. It is not even permitted to leave fighters or ground units there outside of a transport or ship carrier. And if one or more players manage to connect the Capitol to their home planet with a chain of pipelines, those players earn 5 CPs in each economic phase for trading with the Capitol. There are also Doomsday machines. These are mainly used in co-op or solo scenarios, but they can also be added to the mix of deep space counters in a multiplayer scenario. Doomsday machines are automated giant robots floating in space whose special purpose is to destroy everything in their path. Initially, they are face down, mixed in with the deep space counters, and if any ship enters its hexagon, it attacks with the following characteristics: Class C, Attack 9, Defense 2 and Hull Size 3. Attack 9, you can imagine the apocalypse. In addition, the machine benefits from Tactics 2 technology to attack first, and Scanners 2 to block stealth ships. Fighters cannot attack Doomsday machines, period, and boarding ships can only attack them with a class F and an attack of 1, making it virtually impossible to capture. There is no fleet bonus against a Doomsday machine. Now I think you understand why it was given that name. But it's not over, because once someone discovers a Doomsday machine by flipping its counter, the machine starts to move. At the end of each turn, even the turn it was discovered, after all players have taken their own turns, it looks for a target. A target for the machine is a planet, an asteroid field, or a fleet of ships within a range of 2 hexagons. If there are several possible targets, it goes to the closest one, and if several are equally close, it chooses at random. Fortunately, it never enters a player's system, it always remains in deep space, it can target aliens, and it passes through all obstacles, especially unexplored hexagons. It attacks any fleet it meets, and if at the end of a movement or combat it is left alone in the hexagon of a planet or asteroid field, it destroys it. The Doomsday machine hates the universe, living or inanimate, and wants to reduce it to dust. Note that if it encounters mines, it triggers their explosion but suffers no damage. And if a player finally destroys it, he can immediately analyze its wreck and its technologies by rolling the die twice on the space wreck table, and he doesn't need to bring the space wreck back to one of his colonies. Finally, note that even if you choose not to include Doomsday machines in the starting mix of deep space counters, one may still appear as a result of this resource card, so be on your guard, you are never safe. Fine, now that we are getting to know the game quite well, we'd like to share it with lots of friends, so we look at the scenarios, 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, and we discover that we can go even higher to 5 or 6 players by adding the 2 new factions brought by the All Good Things expansion, the Orange Empire and the Olive Green Empire. They are called alternate empires because, as we will see, they are not completely equivalent to the 4 standard empires, yellow, blue, green, red, in the base game. Take a look. If we compare an alternate empire, the Orange Empire, with a classic empire, the Yellow Empire, in terms of combat ships, except for destroyers, battlecruisers and titans, they are all different. And in each case, the alternate orange version is better than the basic one. The 2 alternate empires also have different manufacturing costs. For example, a standard destroyer costs 9 CPs, but for an alternate empire it costs 10. And then, a surprising feature. There is no price for alternate titans. And that's because the orange and olive green alternate empires cannot build titans. Their combat units are all better, but they lack the strongest of all, the titan. And here you might ask, why are there still orange and olive green titan counters if they cannot be built? Well, it's just because of the War Suns Empire card. This card gives a free titan, and it's only because an alternate empire can draw this card at the beginning of the game that orange and olive green players have a titan counter. They cannot build it any other way. Let's go on. All utility units are the same: bases, shipyards, all ground units, and we can see that alternate empires don't have any carrier, CVs or BVs. However, they do have fighters, but these fighters are self-sufficient. They can move around on their own without support, without carriers. They are also not required to stay around colonies. They benefit from the move technology like any other ship and can move freely through space. Finally, alternate empires do not have boarding ships. They cannot capture other ships. And on the opposite, their ships cannot be captured either. Instead, they are destroyed. However, if an enemy boarding ship captures and therefore eliminates an alternate ship, its empire still gains a technology from the eliminated ship. And it's not over. Now let's take a look at the 3 largest ships in the alternate fleet: the BC battlecruiser, the BB battleship and the DN dreadnought. Usually for standard empires, battlecruisers can be equipped with fast technology, battleships with advanced construction level 1 can purchase tractor beam technology, and dreadnoughts also with advanced construction level 1 can purchase shield projectors technology. Now, with alternate empires, this is not the same because their research is more random. The technologies that these 3 types of ships will benefit from will be chosen at random. For battlecruisers, for example, as soon as the player develops a ship size technology to level 4, thus unlocking the production of battlecruisers, he randomly draws 1 technology that can equip all his battlecruisers. This technology replaces the standard Fast 1 technology, and it is randomly selected from a special table as shown below. For example, just as he develops a ship size technology level 4, orange player rolls a die. He rolls a 5 and he gets a special ability which grants a +1 attack against all ships with a hull size of 2 or higher. This is a technology, so orange player still has to pay research points to develop it, and technologies on this table cost 10 RPs. And after paying 10 RPs, the player can equip all his battle cruisers either during construction or by returning to the shipyard. There are special counters for these special technologies, so when a player rolls a die and unlocks a special ability, he places this counter in front of him to remember what technology number 5 represents, and he writes a 5 in the given space on his technology sheet on the battlecruiser's line BC. Later, when he spends 10 RPs to research and gains this technology, he circles level 1. And finally, when a BC ship is built or flies back to a shipyard, he circles the technology where fast is written, since this technology replaces the fast technology. And it's the same for BB battleships and DN dreadnoughts, but in both cases, the die roll takes place when the level 1 advanced construction technology is unlocked, and the new special ability replaces tractor beams and shield projectors. Finally, you remember that flagships benefit from the fast technology. For an alternate empire, they benefit instead from the same special technology that was rolled for battlecruisers BCs. So, you don't need to roll a specific die for the flagship. It's the same die as for BCs. So, the flagship must wait for level 4 ship size technology before gaining access to this special ability. And now it's time to talk about the special ship that only exists for alternate empires, the missile boat MB. In order to build it, the player must buy the missile boat technology. At level 1, he can build missile boats with a defense of 0, and at level 2, a defense of 1. These are the two values 0 and 1 on the counter. A missile boat is a Class A ship with a defense of 0 or 1 and a hull size of 1, and its attack is a missile. Let's take an example. 4 orange missile boats attack a fleet of 2 red cruisers and 2 red destroyers. During combat, the missile boat attacks with Class A ships, so at the very beginning of the round. But when it attacks, it just places a missile token on its target. Not all missile boats in the same group must target the same enemy ship, and so if you need, you can use several missile counters with their numerical counters to see how many missiles are fired at each target. Here, our group of 4 missile boats fire 4 missiles, 2 against the destroyers and 2 against the cruisers. Note that missiles inherit their missiles boats technologies, and especially the attack, defense and tactics technologies. They also inherit the experience level of their missile boat. A veteran missile boat fires veteran missiles. Note that a missile boat can benefit from an attack technology up to level 3 despite its hull size of 1. This is an exception to the general rule. However, for defense, it is still limited to level 1 only. Also, remember, since the fleet bonus and screening are calculated before combat is resolved, at that point, missiles have not yet been fired and of course, they are not counted in the orange force. Now we go on with the battle and jump to Class C, where the red cruisers can attack. And you understand the dilemma, because they have a choice between firing at the missile flying right to them or at the source of the danger, the missile boats themselves. Let's say the cruisers trust their 2 hit points, hull size 2, and they prefer to fire at the missile boat. Attack 4 against defense 0, 2 hits, that's harsh, 2 missile boats are destroyed, and we move on to Class D, the destroyers, who make the other choice and attack the missiles instead. Attack 4, defense 1, the destroyers hit once and destroy 1 missile. Now we come to Class E, the moment when the surviving missiles have traveled the entire distance to their target. And then there's the impact. Against the cruiser, attack 6 minus defense 1, it's a hit, and each missile that hits inflicts 2 damage, enough to destroy a cruiser. Note that against the Titan, it would only be 1 damage. Then, whether the missile hits or not, it is destroyed. A missile never survives its own attack. And finally, the last missile attacks the destroyer. Note that it is too late to change targets. The missile's targets were decided by the missile boat at the moment of the attack, that is, at the time of Class A. Attack 6, defense 0, boom, 2 damage again, but beware, a given attack can only hit one target ship. The 2 damage inflicted by the missile cannot eliminate 2 ships, so there is 1 destroyer left that survives the attack. And there you go, you get the idea. After that, we should go on with round 2, where the remaining missile boats can fire their missiles. Missiles are a new type of enemy that you learn to fight. Fortunately, there is a special weapon that can help you, jammers. And now I ask you for a moment of silence because this is a solemn moment. Jammers are the last technology we had left to see, so now it's official, you know all the technologies in Space Empires. That being said, jammer technology can be equipped on cruisers and it is a passive equipment. Jammers are always activated and disrupt all missiles. So, all it takes is a single cruiser with level 1 jammers and all missiles fired in this hexagon will get a -2 penalty to their attack value, even if the cruiser is protected by screening. And if 2 cruisers with level 2 jammers are in the hexagon, then all missiles, regardless of their target, have their attack reduced to 0. If only 1 cruiser has level 2 jammer technology, it is not enough, but it still benefits from the previous case, the -2 due to level 1 jammers. Beware, the jammers penalties are calculated at the moment of the missile attack, so at class E. A player can launch his missiles at class A with jammers active in the hexagon, but he can still attack the cruisers and cancel the effect of the jammers before class E. And that's why, of course, it's better for the target player to protect its jammers with screening. And voila! You are now ready to play all scenarios in Space Empires, up to 6 players. I won't tell you about the more exotic game modes, which I invite you to discover if you are interested. There is a planetary gate mode where players can teleport ground units from planet to planet, and where the importance of ground units is greatly improved. There is a game mode with amoebas that spread out from the center of the galaxy and absorb everything in their path. There's a King of the Hill mode where players must conquer and occupy warp hexagons. There's a Capture the Flag mode where players must collect artifacts scattered across the board as quickly as possible. You can play team games with 2 possible modes, uneasy alliances where teammates are not allowed to join their forces or attack together, and blood brothers where, on the opposite, they share everything and even play all their units together in the same turn. And finally, there is an option that links the research of new technologies to the success of a dice roll. And then there are the famous replicators, who are the 7th faction of the game, the purple one, and who play very differently from the others. So I decided not to talk about them in my videos because these rules are incompatible with many other rules I consider essential to the game: facilities and their 4 types of resources, experience, reaction moves, and so on. As a player, I barely play with this faction, but if you are braver than me, go on and check it out. And if you really insist, maybe one day I'll make an 11th video about replicators. Fine, it's time to play now. You'll find my special player aids freely available on the Board Game Geek page dedicated to Space Empires. The link is in the description. Print it all out and you'll have the perfect cheat sheet to refresh your memory during your galactic wars. Now I'm finally going to catch my breath and get back to work on my next series. Goodbye my friends, I wish you the most wonderful adventures et je vous revois le plus vite possible chez Jean-Michel Grosjeu.